I'm going live. Oh, dear Lord.
Welcome to Reporter Room. My name is Jessica Della Davies, and today I have Energy Shots here as my special guest, and we are going to be bringing you information on the Quinton Simon case. We have information on Leilani's bail bonds hearing, and Richard Allen from the Delphi murder case also had a day in court today, so we have a lot to unpack. We're going to start with the Quinton Simon case, and then we're going to go into the Delphi case. So before we get started, I just want to thank my executive producers, Energy Shots and Joy Cowley. I'd also like to thank our channel members. And I'd like to thank all of our subscribers. So everything Energy Shots and I are sharing today is our opinion, and opinions are not facts. So please don't send any negativity to anyone, anytime, anywhere. Let's be kind and good to each other. I want to thank our mods. Amelia's here. My Insane World of Six Sense Amelia's here. My Insane World of Beauty is here. And Bonnie Bailey are all here in the chat. And let's get started. This was the press release, and we're going to turn off our mics, Energy Shots and I are, so you can hear this without an echo. This was the press release about Leilani Simon. And for those of you that don't know, Quinton was found, and Leilani Simon has been charged. And let's listen in.
This afternoon, Chatham County Police Department detectives arrested 22-year-old Leilani Simon and charged her with malice murder, concealing the death of another person, false reporting, and making false statements in connection with the disappearance and death of her son, 20-month-old Quinton Simon. Leilani Simon is being held at the Chatham County Detention Center and is awaiting a bond hearing. We do not anticipate any other arrests in this case. She has been the sole suspect from the beginning.
Let's turn our mics on. Let's talk about that. So they told us at the beginning that Leilani was the sole suspect. And I want to give a massive amount of credit to statement analyst Peter Hyatt, because Peter Hyatt called it. He stated that he found an embedded admission from Leilani Simon, and he believed that she actually inadvertently admitted what happened to Quinton. And so I want to give him a lot of credit. He is a world-renowned statement analyst. So Leilani Simon, who has been the sole suspect in this case, was arrested on Monday in Savannah, Georgia. She's being held on charges of 1, malice murder, 2, concealing a death, 3, false reporting, making false statements, according to the Chatham County Police Chief Jeffrey Hadley. So let's listen in on what else he has to share with us. I'm going to turn my mic back off so it doesn't echo.
Friday, our search teams at the waste management landfill found what they believed were human remains. This afternoon, the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia confirmed that they are, in fact, human remains. Additional testing.
So just a little update on this. They actually found Quinton last Friday, and they held off arresting Leilani. So we were all wondering where Leilani was. We didn't know where she was. What we're learning, and this is all, hearsay. So I just want to give that caveat with it. But what we're learning is that Leilani was in rehab, and that she was supposed to be staying in there, and law enforcement knew she was in there, and she was going to check herself out. And from what I understand, Billie Jo notified law enforcement, and I give Billie Jo credit here, credit where credit's due. She notified them that Leilani was checking herself out or had checked herself out. And so law enforcement was probably hoping to wait for the DNA evidence before they arrested Leilani. But being that she wasn't going to be in a supervised situation, they went ahead and arrested her yesterday. So let's listen into the rest of it.
Including a DNA analysis, is being conducted, and we have every reason to believe that this will confirm the remains are Quinton's. This is a heartbreaking development for everyone who loved Quinton, for the many people who came to know him after his disappearance, and for our department. When we first received the call that Quinton was missing, we were hopeful that we would find him alive and unharmed. But as we have been telling you for weeks, all of our evidence pointed to his mother being responsible for his death and disappearance, and his remains being found in the landfill.
So I have said, and what do you think about this, Energy Shots? If you want to turn your mic back on, I've said from the beginning that I really felt like she was going to be arrested. I felt very confident in saying that. What did you think about the fact that he was found and finally he will be put to rest in a respectful manner rather than just being thrown out in the garbage? What did you think, Energy Shots?
Well, I knew they would find him. I figured it would take quite a while. That's really a hard thing to do. And I knew that she would be arrested. It was just a matter of time. Time takes time, and sometimes we have to just be patient and let the pros do what they do. And
Yeah.
I'm really grateful. I was really grateful last night to see her in cuffs. I was like, yes, good job, boys.
Yeah, it was like I had same feeling as you did, like just relief to see her finally in handcuffs. But at the same time, I felt very sad of the way that Quinton was found. And from what I understand, they have partial remains, which is, I think, another reason why they were holding off on trying to arrest her. But when they heard she had checked herself out of the rehab, they went ahead and scooped her up and brought her in. Now she had a bail bonds hearing, and it is coming up. It's going to be tomorrow, November 23rd at 11 a.m. So the search team found what they believe to be 20-month-old Quinton Simon's remains in a landfill. We're still waiting for DNA confirmation on that. And Chatham County Police Chief, who you see on the screen, his name is Jeff Hadley, said that additional testing, including a DNA analysis, is being currently conducted, but they, quote, have every reason to believe that the remains are Quinton's. So after sifting through the Chatham County landfill, police, FBI, Georgia Department of Natural Resources found, I don't want to describe how they found him, but we knew that little kids their bones are so soft that we knew that at this point, with how long he had been in the landfill, that it was going to be a while. But Leilani is being held at the Chatham County Jail. She's awaiting for her bond hearing, which is slated for tomorrow. And we don't know yet if Leilani has a lawyer or not. But here's one thing that the law enforcement did post. They tweeted this out. They said, quote, no other arrests in this case are anticipated. So it seems clear that they believe Leilani acted alone. And they arrested Leilani based on previously gathered evidence in the disappearance of Quinton. They did not elaborate. Now, I have a bunch of updates on Richard Allen case and the Delphi murder for you guys too in a few minutes. He also had his day in court, and I'm going to share that with you in just a second. But let's continue listening to Police Chief Hadley.
I would like to thank the many people and agencies who worked hard to ensure that Quinton was found, that he would have a proper resting place, and that justice would be served. First and foremost, I want to thank the FBI. We are incredibly grateful for their invaluable assistance. Their expertise, their manpower, resources, and guidance are unmatched and were crucial in our efforts to find Quinton. They were on the scene within 3 hours of Quinton being reported missing and have assisted with every aspect of this investigation. The resources they poured into the landfill search are extraordinary and are the reason that we were able to find Quinton. I can't thank them enough. Chatham County Police Department's Criminal Investigation Division also deserves special recognition. Their devotion to Quinton, to making sure this crime did not go unsolved, is an example of police work at its finest. Our detectives worked tirelessly and were determined to follow every lead and uncover every piece of evidence in this case.
So what do you think about that, Energy Shots?
I think that they absolutely knew that he was in the landfill, that there wasn't a shadow of doubt so they knew that she had committed this crime. They knew that he was there, and they just didn't give up until they found him. What a chore.
Chatham County Police Department. I'm accompanied this evening by...
It was just horrific. Sorry about that. I'm trying to grab the video of her.
We wake up every day angry.
So here we have her with her crocodile tears.
I'd like to say to whoever has my children that they please. We just hoping that he's in somebody's house. To us where they belong. Maybe they thought they were his savior. Happy and alive. We want him back in our arms.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, This is not the first time for Billie Jo to have a child end up in jail. And here's the picture of them trying to squeeze out some tears. Energy Shots, if you want to turn your mic on, what do you think is going through Billie Jo's mind right now? She did turn Leilani in.
She did turn her in, but to stand there by her, I'd have been like, you're on your own here. And I would have also been like, officer, I'm willing to do whatever it is you need me to do. My daughter's a little cracked. I'm not going to support that. But she didn't do that at all. So that's what I think. I think that, I don't know, she raised them. She raised two murderers.
Yeah, she did. She really did.
She failed them. And she failed Quinton.
I was just begging for her to please advocate for him. I know she watches YouTube, so I was really hoping that she would step up, but at least she did turn in Leilani allegedly when Leilani tried to check herself out. If you're just joining Reporter Room, we are covering the Quinton Simon case today. We are also going to be talking about the Richard Allen case because he had his day in court also. So we have a lot to unpack here. My guest is Energy Shots. So let's continue on, guys. Let's continue on. I'm going to turn the microphone off. Billie Jo's daughter. These are not facts. So please. Because Diana had a key to the house and took care of little Quinton. Leilani's next lie was to point the finger at Quinton's biological father, whose name is Bubba. And I want to talk about Bubba for a second because this poor guy got put through the ringer. First of all, he lost his son. Second of all, he's falsely accused by Leilani of having done it, even though he was nowhere near, and law enforcement had him on a surveillance footage leaving his house. I guess he lives next door to a gas station or a 7-Eleven or something like that. They had a camera pointed so they could actually see him exiting the house so they could prove that he was nowhere in the vicinity on the morning of October the 5th. So this poor guy, and then after being put through the ringer on this, his father was killed in a hit and run. What do you think, Energy Shots, about her trying to point the finger at him?
That's what they do. They always blame everybody else. And, he's a good looking young man. He's probably trying to put his life together and do the right things. And he's probably got his own struggles, and to be blamed for something like that, I couldn't imagine that. Those people, that's what they do. They blame others for what they do. And sometimes they're extremely convincing.
Yeah. No, it's true. They are convincing. Well, let's continue on. He had an alibi, and Leilani's next lie was to point the finger at Danny Youngkin. Now, Danny has left town. His parents came and picked him up, and so I don't think he can be completely ruled in or ruled out as a... So now we can rule Danny Youngkin out because law enforcement has said unequivocally that they are not charging anyone else, that they do not suspect anyone else. So Danny Youngkin is ruled out officially by law enforcement. What do you think about the fact that Leilani also tried to blame it on him? They're insinuating that he had put the kids to bed and that therefore somehow this was Danny's fault. He was the last one to see the kids.
Same thing, same smear campaign. I'll bet that guy didn't even know anything had happened until after it happened.
I suspect he said he saw Quinton when he left for work.
Right.
So I suspect Quinton was doing fine when he left for work, and something happened from when he left for work and when 911 was called, approximately 9 a.m. And we have still not heard the 911 call. So anyway, let's continue on because she did not stop there with her smear campaign. Possible accomplice after the fact. And Leilani's next lie was to point the finger at a stranger abduction. Yeah, so her next thing that she tried to do, energy shots, was she decided that this must be a stranger. It was a stranger's fault. A stranger did it.
Grasping. She was just grasping. She was guilty. She knew it. Her mother knew it, and she was just reaching and grasping. She didn't have anything left.
Yeah, she didn't have anything left, so they were left to just say, "Oh, well, somebody just really wanted a baby, and therefore they took mine."
Right.
Let's continue on, guys. And for those of you who are just joining us, this is Reporter Room. We are going through the Quinton Simon case. We also have updates because Richard Allen in the Delphi murder case also had a day in court today too. If you're just joining us, Quinton has been found. His remains were found, and Leilani has been arrested. Leilani wants all of us to believe that a stranger came into her house, took Quinton because they wished they had a baby. Leilani claims that she's not going to run and she's going to turn herself in. However, Leilani has no credibility because she has told lie upon lie. And I'm going to talk about Billie Jo in just a moment, so please stay with me. So Leilani couldn't even keep her word to stay in rehab, right? She was supposed to be in rehab and she didn't stay in. She allegedly didn't stay in, and I guess checked herself out, signed herself out, and then went on to have Billie Jo then contacted law enforcement to let her know. And supposedly, and this, I don't have any independent confirmation on this, I'm hearing this secondhand, but supposedly Billie Jo took her out for a lunch as a stalling tactic, and then law enforcement arrested her from there. So Billie Jo did seem like she stepped up at the end to do the right thing. And I don't know if she knew that Quinton's remains had been found or not. What do you think, Energy Shots? Do you think she knew? Or you think she just, what made her suddenly decide she was going to step up and help law enforcement?
I think she broke under the pressure. She just couldn't take it anymore. She may have known that they found Quinton. We don't know that, but I think she broke. I think that she just couldn't. I mean, YouTube is hard on people, and I think that she just couldn't take it anymore.
That makes sense. What do you guys think in the chat? Do you think that she knew? Put a 1 up if you think that she knew that law enforcement had found Quinton, and put a 2 up if you think that she just had a change of heart. She just felt like she couldn't take the pressure anymore. I mean, look at her face here. You can just see, look at her face. She can't even look at Leilani. She can't even look at her. So I agree. I think it just got to a point where she just couldn't look at her anymore. Mm-hmm. So what will happen when law enforcement finds Quinton? Charges filed against Leilani and anyone who aided and abetted her. And Here's Diana McCarta, who was Quinton's babysitter. And she's another one who just, she was probably the only caregiver that actually cared about this baby. And they tried to dirty her up too, saying that she had a key to the house and just throwing shade her way. What did you think about that when they were trying to go after Diana? It just seems like they were throwing spaghetti against the wall to distract from anything.
I agree. And that's it. She was just the next in line of fire. But I have my own opinion about this one here. I do. I mean,
what do you think?
I think that a lot of abuse, a lot of people who do bad things have people who co-sign their behaviors, and I'm sure that she knew more. That maybe Leilani shouldn't have been in the house with Quinton. That the boyfriend shouldn't have been there. I mean, if the child is supposed to be protected by the grandmother, well, then everybody else in their life should protect them also. It's a big problem in our nation. We need to protect our children no matter who you are. And I think that she didn't say enough soon enough or at all. That's just my opinion.
So you wish, because she did say she had seen some things, right? The kids were being dropped off without diapers, without supplies. And, there would have been, maybe a different outcome if she would have said something. But then from her point of view,
Leilani should have been removed from the house. I mean, if her mother has custody, she shouldn't even have been in the house. There's a reason why she doesn't have custody. What is it? Neglect, and it's sad. But, this woman may have been the caregiver, the babysitter. Still, she had a part to play in it. We need to stop enabling no matter what.
I feel so badly for this little guy because he deserved so much better than what he got. Bonnie Bailey saying no milk. Exactly.
Right. I mean,
no milk.
Nobody supported him. Not even this woman right here. She should have been first in line on the phone. She should have been first in line. This isn't right. This little boy shouldn't be here. Is there somewhere else you can put him?
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion.
I do think she loved him, but ultimately she let her own wanting to have the job. And, maybe she relied on this income. It was her job. So, I think of if you see something, say something is so important, especially when it comes to children, because they can't advocate for themselves. Well, I'm going to leave it there on this case. I want to dive into, because, oh boy, we had Richard Allen. And let me grab this.
Hey, can I ask you a question real quick about him?
Yeah.
Did he check himself into treatment also after those double murders happened?
Richard?
Yes, I heard, and I wasn't able to track it down, that he had also checked himself into treatment.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard that. I have not heard that. But that's interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting. All right, well, here he is. He's coming out, arriving to the courthouse today, because let me just update you on him. There, I have a ton of updates on the Richard Allen case, because he was brought into court today. He was shackled on his wrist and legs. He was wearing a yellow prison jumpsuit. And this was the first time that the families of Abby and Libby got to see him eyeball to eyeball after learning what he's been accused of doing. And I'm watching my words here. So many people were wondering what Abby and Libby's family were thinking as he got led into court. Let's watch this together. You can see him there with the yellowy orange. They're like a bright school bus yellow almost. And you can see how much security is surrounding him. Let's watch it one more time. And you can see they're just, the police have their vests on and they are around him. Boy. And I'm going to just share some updates with you guys on this case. So because there's a lot to unpack here. So many people are wondering, like, what was going through the family's mind as he was being led into court, right? And prosecutors told the judge that they did not want the records unsealed because, quote, this is what the prosecutor said. Listen to this. Quote, they believe Richard Allen is not the only actor in this. End quote. So, whoa, they don't think he was a lone wolf actor. This is the prosecutor. This isn't me saying it. This isn't Energy Shot saying it. This is the prosecutor saying that. And so this is really a bombshell because we learned that Richard Allen did not act alone. And if you didn't see my video that I did the other day on Richard Allen, Keegan Klein, and Ronald Logan, along with some information about the conspiracy, you will want to see that next, and I will link it for you in the description below because I do a deep dive into Keegan Klein, Richard Allen, and Ronald Logan and their potential and known connections. So let's go back to the court hearing because he was asking for bail. And here he is arriving. So the judge didn't immediately grant bail to him. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good thing.
You think he'll you think she's gonna decide because he just got his lawyers. So for those of you that saw the letter that he wrote asking for lawyers, he got lawyers, and the judge is going to rule on the bail tomorrow. Bonnie Bailey saying no bail. Yeah, I think nobody wants him to have bail. So I caught some heck for saying that I thought that this was a conspiracy, that I thought that this was not a lone person. And, I stand by it because I think I was
Allen
correct.
has
These
been
guys
arrested,
don't just
and
start.
he was hiding in plain sight.
So he was not a lone actor. It sounds like he did have co-conspirators, Energy Shots. And so this is what they said. They said that the prosecutor said they believe that Richard Allen is not the only actor in this. And so we know that during the court hearing today, Richard Allen was asking the judge to grant him bail. Now, the judge did not rule on this because there's going to be a hearing on whether or not Richard Allen can get bail in February. And I just, the reason behind this is twofold. One, Richard Allen's lawyers just came on this case this week. So they need time to prepare their reasons of why they think Richard Allen deserves bail. And remember, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. And the prosecutors, they need time to decide why and to tell the court why Richard Allen should not get bail. What do you think, Energy Shots?
Well, sometimes it's best just not to say anything. The prosecutor has their reasons for arresting him, and the judge needs to do her due diligence to go through to see if he's at risk, if he's a flight risk, if he'll do it again, if he'll fall apart, if it disappear. You don't know. I pray to God they don't give him bail though. And I agree. I think that maybe there may have been 2 other people involved, but I've been keeping quiet on that.
I think that Keegan Klein, and there could be a whole ring. There could be a ring of people who were using the Anthony Shots account. Listen to this, you guys.
Predators are not very popular with the general prison population, so apparently they had to move him. And a prison inmate states that they did see changes leading up to the fact that Richard was probably going to be coming to the jail, and that Richard Allen was placed on a 24-hour security watch, which was probably for his own protection. I'm going to talk about Keegan Klein in just a moment because we have some updates on him as well. So please stay with me. Was this premeditated? There's been a lot of speculation. Okay, so I do believe that this is just my opinion. Everything Energy Shots and I are sharing today is my opinion. I do believe that Richard Allen premeditated this. And my reasoning behind that is because we know that the Anthony Shots account made contact with one of the girls on on the 12th of February, right? One day before the girls went to the bridge to meet someone. And I'm assuming it was Anthony Shots. So we know that that account had contact with the girls one day before. And that's why I think, and Keegan Klein, who had 30 plus charges pending against him, charges that are so heinous, I cannot even say on the air what they are. Some of those, not all, but some of those were reduced. So I think he is cooperating now. What do you think, Energy Shots?
I think he is too. I think that it's those two definitely for sure together. Maybe they were making money on videos. Maybe they were, who knows? But I'll tell you what, I do believe that they're both connected. They're not letting him out either.
No, he's not. He's got so many charges pending against him before Libby and Abby. And he may be just trying to, get better conditions in his situation, because we know guys like Keegan Klein and allegedly, and guys like Richard Allen allegedly and everyone's innocent until proven guilty, but they are not popular with the prison population. Prison population does not care for guys. So I've got some more breaking news for you on this case. Okay, so the big 4 takeaways from today's hearings were: 1, the prosecutor stated that they did not think Richard Allen acted alone. 2, there is a petition to have the documents unsealed. However, we learned today in court that Libby German's grandmother wrote a letter. She requested that the documents not be unsealed. And I'm not sure what's in the documents, but obviously we want the court to do whatever is best to bring justice for Libby and Abby. This is not about Richard Allen. This is not about Keegan Klein. This is about Libby and Abby. So not only did the court get a letter, though, from Libby's grandma asking to keep these documents sealed, but we're also learning that 40,000 plus residents also signed a petition. And this was presented today in court, that the documents remain sealed. So the court has reserved ruling on this. And so hopefully we'll get a ruling on whether these documents are going to remain sealed or not sealed in the next few days. What do you think about that, Energy Shots? And I have 2 more big points I want to share with you about that, bombshells that we learned today. But let's talk about that, the unsealing or the sealing of the documents for a second.
For me, it's keep them sealed. It's so personal to those families. And as much as we want to know everything, sometimes it's best that we don't, especially if there's, a court proceedings going on. And I'm all for it. If it saves the family some pain, some grief, keep them sealed. Let them do their job. Let them do it without anybody, getting in there and throwing shade on it.
I agree. I'm all for keeping them sealed. All right. So we've done the first 2 takeaways. Let's do the third one. The third big takeaway for today for me was the argument was made that it was in the public's interest to unseal the documents, but the prosecutor clapped back. He clapped back, saying that it was in the public's interest to get justice for Libby and Abby. And that's where I think the focus needs to be. Of course, Richard Allen deserves his day in court. Of course, Keegan Klein deserves his day in court. But ultimately, this is about Libby and Abby. What did you think about that, Energy Shots?
I think that's right on, straight up. He's all for the girls. He's all for the justice. It doesn't matter what we feel. We didn't live it.
Well, the 4th big takeaway that we had was Richard Allen's attorneys. These are new attorneys, new guys on the case. They spoke to the media. And of course, they were quick to claim that there was not direct evidence linking Richard Allen to the case. And just, this is a reminder that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But I don't think he would have been arrested and brought in if they didn't have evidence. And I know the lawyers always say that, they always say something like that. My
Yeah, they're
client's
just saying.
innocent.
Kind of like Leilani, just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying things.
Yeah, just throwing everything against the wall. Breathless says the justice system has failed in many cases. If they were punished sufficiently, maybe these things would cease to happen among us.
I agree.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. All right, let's continue on, guys. I'm going to turn my mic off.
About whether the girls were lured into this catfish account into a trap set by Richard Allen. So was this premeditated, and has Richard Allen done this before? Hear me out.
So I do think Richard Allen has done this before, and I'm going to present you with a case. I'm not saying he did this other case, but I just find it very hard to believe. He was 44 when Libby and Abby disappeared and what ultimately happened to them. He was 44. It's hard to believe that somebody gets into their mid 40s and then just suddenly starts committing crimes like this. What do you think, Energy Shots? Do you think this is a first time or only time offender?
No,
or just the first time he got caught?
I think it's the first time he got caught. I think he's done this before. I did a deep dive also into his past, and he's been in places where things have happened before. So,
Please share what you've learned if you feel comfortable doing that. This would just be our opinion, guys.
Well, he lived in that town not too far away several years ago, and that girl ended up in the woods. They found her in the woods. It's the same scenario, just a different place. So I think that he was a lone wolf, and then he was probably approached in a bar with an opportunity to, hey, let's join up and do this together. Or maybe it was just a catfish thing and he went ballistic. I mean, we don't know the facts yet, but I do believe that this isn't his first go round.
Well, so watching him being led into court today, I mean, I think one of the biggest takeaways that we got was the heavy security that was around him. We know that he allegedly was moved from the jail to a prison. We don't know which one. That we also heard that he was allegedly under 24-hour security watch because, predators are not popular in jail, especially on people involved with children. I also talked about the fact that I believe that he was being moved to a second location and that this rumor came from a prison inmate. So we do have a new judge in this case. The original judge did recuse himself. He was concerned about his own safety, and we have a female judge, and she has a history of allowing cameras into the courtroom. So do you think this will be televised?
I don't think it will. I think that, it would be great, but I don't think it will. Just because it's such a high profile case.
Yeah, that's true. It could. I hope it is if he doesn't plead it out. Well, let's learn more. So Energy Shots has one case that she brought up, and I found another one that I thought was interesting too.
On February 12th, one night before Libby and Abby were done away with, they were in contact with the account run by Keegan Klein. He was the one hiding behind the photos of Anthony Shots, the catfish account. So,
and look at how cute Anthony Shots is. You could see why an 8th grader would go for him, right?
He's giddy.
And now his real name isn't Anthony Shots. I'm not going to say his real name, but I just, this was one of the photos that was used on the catfish account. And he's cute, right? I could see why a girl would go for him. All right, well, let's continue on, guys. Let's continue on.
Richard Allen also accessed this account. And if so, who else had access to this account? So authorities have charged Richard Allen and not Keegan Klein with the murders of Abby and Libby. So does this mean that Richard Allen was using that catfish account? And if so, does that mean that Keegan Klein is a co-conspirator with Richard Allen?
What do you think about that? Co-conspirator, Energy Shots?
I think that there's a whole ring involved, and they were passing that account around. You know,
That's what I think too.
Yeah, what if there was like 15 people and he just took advantage of the situation to do what he did?
Yeah.
We don't know.
And being that he was local and he worked in that CVS, do you think he became fixated on one of the girls when, she came in, maybe with her mom or something like that?
Well, possibly. She lived right down the street, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that. They get their eyes on something or someone and they go for it. You never know.
It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So both the families today, so Richard Allen got his day in court, and I have up on the screen is Keegan Klein. If that's not Richard Allen, but the families of Libby and Abby got to make eye contact for the first time with Richard Allen since they found out what he was charged with. Now, they didn't give any interviews, and they were very emotional, and this is understandable because they've waited 5.5 years for this day, and I can't even imagine the anguish of what they went through for the past 5.5 years. And I give credit to all of you guys for helping to keep this case alive and out there. But we know that one of the family members of Libby, an aunt, brought photos of Libby in for her memorial service. And Richard Allen took the photos and then gave them to her for free. And I just have to wonder if there was some kind of duping delight in that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I do. What a piece of right? Yeah. He just loved it. I'll bet you.
Well, let's continue on, guys.
I think that this theory is a valid theory because law enforcement have mysteriously, with no explanation, pled down Keegan Klein's charges. So did they do this because he rolled on Richard Allen? And if so, is he providing other information about other people who could have used the Anthony Schatz catfish account? We are now learning that Richard Allen came forward to law enforcement and admitted that he was on the bridge on February 13th of 2017, the very day.
This part is,
Right?
I mean, I know they were getting tons of stuff, but oh my gosh, energy
Right?
shots. This part just like gets me so much. What the heck?
Right? And look at his frame. It's the exact same frame. If they'd have put the video together with this man standing in front of them 5 years ago, boom, it'd have been over.
Yeah, because he does look just like the photo.
He is a bridge guy, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I think so too. In my opinion, everyone's entitled to their day in court, but I do believe he is. All right, let's continue on, guys, because this could have been resolved sooner if they had put two and two together. Now, he probably doesn't have any kind of criminal background because he was able to pass a background check to become a lab technician at CVS in 2018. I don't know if that was a renewal of license or a brand new license to become a pharmacy technician, but he probably does not have any kind of criminal background check because there's no way that CVS is going to put somebody in their store with access to people's prescription medications without putting them through probably a level 2 background check. So he would have had a clean record. So when law enforcement, when he came forward, they would have seen a nice looking guy who's coming forward pretending to be helpful because he doesn't know if he's caught on security cameras or not. And if they ran a background check on him, if they did have any alarm bells going off, we don't know, he would have come back clean, right? He would have come back clean. All right, let's continue on, guys.
That Abby and Libby disappeared. And oh my gosh, you guys, he inserted himself into the case. How many times have we seen this before? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. A police source who is not going on record.
Have you lost your sound?
The arrow, I cut it out because I zoomed in too close, but it actually is pointing to the sketch that was done by the police sketch artist based on Bridge Guy. So he's at the bar, a local bar, posing in front of the sketch artist. Again, look at that face, duping delight. What do you think?
I agree. That's why he put himself, on the bridge that day too. He probably showed up to go, "Hey, do you know anything?"
Yeah.
No?
Insert himself right into that case, hoping, what can I find out?
Yeah.
And also enjoying it.
Right. And that's not
Enjoying
the
it.
first time we've seen somebody's picture with a wanted poster behind them. Or
Yeah.
have you seen me poster? That's not the
Yeah.
first time we've seen that. They
No.
love it.
You're right. You're right. They do. They love it. So predators, like what he's being accused of doing, I'm watching my words here, they have a really high reoffense rate. So I caught some flack a little bit when I said initially I didn't think he was acting alone, but now hearing prosecutors say the same thing, I feel a little bit more comfortable. And the reason that I felt like he didn't act alone was I believed that there was more than one person using that Anthony Shots catfish account. And Keegan Klein, his, just miraculously having his charges reduced, also made me think that he was singing like a canary to either get better conditions or to get some charges thrown out, or maybe he was also facing being charged with what happened to Abby and Libby. But they were reduced. So this is why I believe that Keegan Klein is cooperating with law enforcement. And this is what led law enforcement to pick up Richard Allen. So the other thing that we learned in court today during Richard Allen's initial court date was that the prosecutor was arguing to keep the documents sealed because, listen to this, you guys, there were reportedly juveniles, quote, juveniles, plural, juveniles, names in connection to this case. And I brought up the other day in the video that I thought that this wouldn't have been his first time doing something like that. And hearing the prosecutor wanting to keep those documents sealed because there were, quote, juveniles named in connection with this case, I think also supports that theory that there was more than one person, and probably we know that there were more juveniles approached by the Anthony Shots account, right? What we don't know is if some of these other cases, one that Energy Shots just brought up to you, and another one I'm going to show you in just a second, if these were also committed by this ring. But I do think that there was a ring. I can't say the word, but a ring of offenders, predators that were using the Anthony Shots catfish account. And I believe they were working together. So if there are juveniles, then that means that there are more than one victim. It could also link Richard Allen or Keegan Klein to other cases. And one of the cases I brought up in the video I did earlier this week was the case of Elizabeth and Lyric, which also happened on the 13th day of the month. That was a different month, but they lived in a remote area. They were also white, just like Libby and Allie, and their family members, just like Libby and Abby, were also ruled out. And these girls were done away with in 2012. And that was only 400 miles from where where Richard Allen lived. Listen to this, you guys. Let me turn my mic off.
A police source who is not going on record did say to iTeammate, and I want to read it to you exactly, that Richard Allen was, quote, in the area of the killings on the day of the girl's murder, end quote. Allegedly, Richard Allen came forward to law enforcement and told them that he was in the area on the day that Abby and Libby disappeared. He even places himself onto the Monon High Bridge that very afternoon. And I guess because he came forward and he didn't have a criminal record, law enforcement was probably getting inundated with tips, and this just fell between the cracks. But it seemed like he tried to insert himself into the case.
You're muted.
So let's talk about Ronald Logan for a second. This is Ronald Logan, and he was the owner. He passed away in 2020. He was the owner of the land where Libby and Abby were discovered. So a lot of people feel like he may have some connections into this. Also, I don't know. Again, innocent until proven guilty, and nothing has been charged or brought up against him. But what did you think? Do you think it was just a coincidence? A lot of people also feel like he looks like Bridge Guy. What do you think, Energy Shots?
Yeah, I don't think he looks like Bridge Guy. I do think that he had an alibi that he was somewhere else, but then his devices put him on the property down around the area. So
he claimed he was somewhere else, and law enforcement was able to break that alibi and place him near the bridge. Yeah.
Right. And because they couldn't factually prove it, I think he slipped through their fingers and was able to pass away and get on out of here with, nothing. I think that he may be involved. I would like to see the link. It wouldn't surprise me if he was.
Yeah, me either. Well, let's continue on, guys.
Property. Shocking new details have emerged from a podcast that say that a memo which was submitted by an FBI agent investigating what happened to Abby and Libby, which was partially redacted, did conduct a search into Ronald Logan's home. He was the landowner of the location where the girls' remains were found. He allegedly lied about where he was at the time Libby and Abby disappeared. So this would have been on February 13th. And Ron Logan claimed falsely that he was out of the area with a friend on that afternoon, and mobile location put him in the area around that trail that Libby and Abby were on. The document also says that his voice, quote, does not conflict, end quote, with the voice of the man captured by Libby in the video. Now, when I look at this, I think that defense attorneys are going to probably try to use Ronald Logan, and that's one of the reasons I want to bring him up today. I just want to mentally prepare you guys. I think that defense attorneys are going to, Ronald Logan is not here to defend himself. I think they are going to potentially try to say that somehow this is Ronald Logan, but I just want you guys to look at the pictures of Richard Allen and then look at this Bridge Guy. And to me, I see Richard Allen's face. I don't see Ronald Logan at all. What do you see, Energy Shots?
I see him reaching for a weapon right there. That's what I see.
You think that's why he's got his hands down there?
I do. I think and if you watch it over and over again, it almost looks like he's ready to. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let me back it up. Let's watch it again. I haven't heard this before. Let's watch that. Thank you.
Conflict, end quote, with the voice of the man captured by Libby in the video.
Can't see enough of it.
You can see a little bit of his hand movement, though. Yeah. His right hand does move.
It does.
And wow, I didn't catch that till you just said that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting.
I think that's cut right there too, because they don't want the rest of it to come out.
Oh, okay. So you think law enforcement put out just enough to show us what he looked like, and then didn't want to show what he used on the girls?
I do think so.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right. Well, let's continue on, guys. Let's continue on.
Ron Logan was never charged, and he passed away in 2020. And I have some more information on Richard Allen in a moment, so please stay with me. Abby and Libby went missing from the Moan High Bridge Trail, and law enforcement said that they appeared to have been moved and staged. And Indiana State Police arrested Richard Allen in late October, but they didn't announce it until October 31st on Halloween. He was also accused of taking a souvenir from the crime scene.
So what do you think about this souvenir? Do you think that's what they were digging up the backyard for, was to try to find these souvenir? Do you think there's other souvenirs? What do you think, Energy Shots?
I do. I think there's more, especially if he's connected with other cases. I think that, that's what they do, don't they? They like to take souvenirs to remind them. Like in the video that his wife captured of him looking in a book, does he have photos? Was that a photo album? What was he looking at it sitting in the car when she snuck up on him, So yeah, I think that he's got himself a souvenir or two or three, and that's what he does. And I pray to God they found it.
And do you think this has anything to do with why prosecutors were talking about not wanting to unseal those documents today because of other juveniles' names were in those documents? Do you think that they're now in the process of linking him to other cases and other juveniles?
Yeah, that's very possible. Wouldn't that be something? That's possible. Yeah.
All right, well, let's continue on, guys. Let's continue on. But we don't know exactly what he took. Is this what law enforcement was digging up his backyard to try to find out? So has Richard Allen done this before? Because the similarities between what happened to Libby and Abby and the unsolved case of Elizabeth Collins and Lyric Cook are definitely worth noting. Okay, so Elizabeth and Lyric were both disappeared in 2012, also on the 13th, but it was on a different month. Listen to this, you guys. So Richard Allen wrote that letter that I shared with you in a prior video requesting that he get a public defender, and he was granted that. He received 2 public defenders. One is Andrew Joseph Baldwin, and he's with the Baldwin Perry Commish law firm. The other one is Bradley Rozzi of Rozzi, Hillis, Rozzi, and Dean, and they will both be representing Richard Allen in the upcoming case. Also, the initial judge on this case opted to recuse himself. He was concerned about his safety. So we have a new judge, and her name is Judge Fran Gall. She will be overseeing the new case against Richard Allen, and she has a history of allowing television cameras into the courtroom. So we may be able to see this trial. And Keegan Klein admitted to using a fictitious online persona to contact Libby and is now facing separate charges. And I can't even say what they are. They're so awful. But he denies knowing anything, or he has in the past anyway, about what happened to Abby and Libby. So now we're just wondering why these charges, these 30 charges, would be reduced unless he gave them something good. So Keegan Klein is scheduled to go on trial in January of 2023, with his final pre-trial conference set for December 22nd, 2022. There's a similar case. To Libby and Abby's case. And I've always said that I think it's bizarre that this would be Richard Allen's first time, right? He was 44 when he committed this offense. And it's hard to believe that somebody got into their mid-40s and with a clean record, but hadn't done anything like this in his past. So around 400 miles from where Richard Allen lived, there was another case back in 2012. And in this case, 2 girls also went missing, also on the 13th of the month, although instead of February 13th, this happened on July 13th of 2012. And here are the similarities to Libby and Abby's case. 1, they're both underage. 2, they were both white. 3, alone in a remote area. 4, dumped in a remote area. And 5, their family members were ruled out by police. So their family members were ruled out by law enforcement, just like Abby and Libby. And they were both white, just like Abby and Libby. They were also found dumped in a remote location, just like Abby and Libby. They also both went missing on the 13th of the month. It was a different month, just like Abby and Libby. What do you guys think? Guys, I want to share your comments, but you got to watch what words you're using. There are certain words I cannot put on to onto the screen. So what do you think, Energy Shots?
I think I'd like to know what the anniversary on the 13th is for him. That's
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a wow. That's
What happened way back when on the 13th that he can't talk about, but it comes out this way? That's what I want to know.
yeah.
I think that's, there's a reason.
That's really good. Oof. That's really good. Wow. So you think that there's some kind of a trauma or something that made him feel enraged on that day, and that's
I do.
It has some kind of significance to him?
Yeah, I do.
That's interesting.
Anniversaries
Wow.
are very important. And, people who have a history of different issues on certain days of anniversaries, like Christmas and Easter and things like, they can't do it because it kicks up too much stuff for them. They can't handle it. So
Yeah.
they just sit in their room and pout as opposed to doing their work, getting through it and getting healthy again and enjoying it. People like this, they act out in different ways. Yeah.
Wow. And Energy Shots also thinks there's something in the video where he is pulling his hand out of his pocket. So let's watch that one more time, guys. I'm going to turn my mic off. Conflict, end quote, with the voice of the man captured by Libby in the video.
Can't see enough of it.
You look at the right hand. I'm going to play it again. You can see a little bit of movement with the right hand that Energy Shots caught. And she thinks that law enforcement did not release the remainder of this video, that they're holding it back because it shows what he actually used to commit the crime. So a little bit of movement with that right hand. Let's watch it one more time. Ron Logan was never charged, and he passed away in 2020. And I have some more information on Richard Allen in a moment, so please stay with me. Abby and Libby went missing from the Moan High Bridge Trail, and law enforcement said that they appeared to have been moved and staged. And Indiana State Police arrested and staged. In the area around that trail. Sorry guys, hold on one second. Document also says that his voice, quote, does not conflict, end quote, with the voice of the man captured by Libby in the video. So watch his right hand, guys. So what does he have in his pocket? What does he have in his pocket that he is reaching for? Why? What does he have in his pocket? And I give so much credit to be able to capture this on video. I give so much credit to the girls for capturing this and being able to upload this, because this had to be so scary. They probably thought they were going to meet this cute, young looking, sweet looking guy. And then imagine having this guy, and he does say guys down the hall, and he says it with such authority that I think you're right, Energy Shots. I think he is pulling something out of his pocket. I think you're right.
Yeah. Possible.
Do you guys see it? Do you think he's pulling something out of his pocket? Do you see like a movement with his right hand? What do you think? And then what do you think about the case of Elizabeth and Lyric, also on the 13th? 400 miles away from where Richard Allen lived. Do you think that's a coincidence?
So that was 10 years ago.
Right.
That's
So
a long time.
that would have meant because he's 50 years old now, so that would have been he would have been 40 at that time.
Right. Yeah,
Still
he didn't.
think that's older, and I still think there might be other cases. And we learned from the court sealed documents that the prosecutor was talking about that he wanted these documents to remain sealed because there were other, and I quote, juveniles, end quote, involved. So I think that's very, very telling. Now, of course, Richard Allen is due his day in court. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Before we go, do you have any last words you want to say, Energy Shots?
No.
All right.
I think this about does it. You're doing a fine job.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today on the panel. And I do want to say a special thank you to our executive producers, Energy Shots and Joy Cowley, and our channel members. And I am going to do another live stream on Saturday, and we're going to be talking about what happened in Moscow, Idaho, where 4 college kids were slain. We're going to go through that case, and I'm going to give you also updates because we know that Leilani has a bond hearing, a bail hearing. So we're going to do that as well. I just want to thank you all so much for joining me. If you would be so kind as to give this a thumbs up on your way out and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Energy Shots. See you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.